Welcome to the Runner Dudes podcast. Everyone is welcome. Runners are welcome. Walkers are welcome. The running curious are welcome. We're going to widen the door to running and soften the impact for anyone willing to lace up and show up. Today can be the day you take the first steps towards physical, mental, and spiritual well-being and become the person you were intended to be. We hope to inform, inspire, listen, learn, and help you start your own running journey, all while being moderately funny and low-key entertaining. Let's go, baby. I feel like, is that a beat? That's a beatbox machine.
It is, man.
Can we drop beats on that?
Yeah.
It's
Drum machine.
horn.
Please
guys,
don't touch it.
We got a big day today in Runner Dudes podcast history. So please everybody be patient with us today because we are, for the first time on camera, I'm going to do my best not to do this the entire time and make it super weird.
We're going to stare at each other all
Yes, and so we may be sweatier than usual, so don't judge us. And we also, there's no way for us to slow roll the fact that we have a guest.
Yeah.
Or is there?
Well,
as long as he doesn't talk,
Shh.
It's a mystery guest.
It's a mystery guest.
Don't even say it.
Don't say anything. So we do have a guest today. We're pretty excited about it. It's Travis Shope. He's the Cookeville High School cross country coach.
Yep.
He is also your local dialed in running coach. And so we're going to get into all of that stuff. But of course, we love to start the episode with the question to Dusty. And this is a good one because obviously the theme is going to be coaching today. And so, Dusty, who is a coach that changed your life? ? What did they coach? What did they do that made them special / different?
I got two.
Okay.
First coach, grade school basketball coach, Gary Ledbetter.
Okay.
Coaching was different then than it is now, I think, but with him, it was
The world was a little different.
just a tad. So it was more about kind of turning you into a respectable person. They had high morals. You know, it wasn't just about basketball. It wasn't who you were. It wasn't who your parents were. It was more about development and just teaching you how to be a good person.
Yes.
He was always, he set a high example, and he held us to a high standard. Next, Pat Swallows, high school baseball coach.
Mm-hmm.
Same person.
Mm-hmm.
Loved baseball, had a passion for baseball, but he also had a passion for kind of sharing how he modeled his life for his young athletes, for his players. And it wasn't just about baseball.
Yeah.
It was just about turning you into a better person. So,
yes.
And
And
maybe didn't produce like a crazy big winning team all the time, but you had a group of guys that really knew how to kind of get along with one another.
I will say that at that age, I think so much importance has been put on winning nowadays or whatever. And so I had a coach, and I've talked about him on the podcast, Coach Blaine Moore. And I've also talked about the 9th grade basketball team from Martin Junior High that was the worst basketball team ever assembled. And I was part of that team. A huge part of that team's failure was how terrible I was at basketball. But that wasn't the point. Coach Moore was teaching us how to become young men and ultimately become men later in our lives. And I take so many lessons. He reminded me so much of Hoosiers. It was about life and working together and discipline and consistency. And so I think that's what coaching was back then. There was also like a little bit of a little hazing to it, man. Like he was hard on us, and he pushed us. I don't know that you could get away with some of the stuff that we did running and some of the, and he would get in our face a little bit. I think you probably get a parent that would be pretty fired up these days. So that to me was what made Coach Moore different from a lot of my coaches, was that he did care about me, but he showed it in a way that made me know that this was about more than basketball. Because it couldn't be about basketball because we were terrible. And I was maybe the worst.
I'd say most people, if they have a good example of a coach in their life, it's going to be somebody that's, positively influenced, not made it more about just being a winner, but being, they're showing they're investing some time, quality time in you.
Yes.
And trying to make you a better person.
100%.
Making sure you can kind of maybe handle your business outside.
Yes.
Not have mom and daddy having to do stuff for you.
Yes. I can't remember if we mention that we're in the Willow Window Studio.
Yeah.
A beautiful
Very grateful to be
Willow Window Studio. Thank you so much. Big thank you to Jonathan and his staff for welcoming us in. It is really a wonderful place to get to do this. So thank you so much. We'll be mentioning that also. As we see, my boy Dusty over here got the Express hat.
Man.
Got the Express.
Absolutely.
Let's don't.
I need to say a big thanks to Corey and all her crew at Select Designs, man. They always hook me up with some of the best stuff. So thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, looks good. And I want to mention Runner Dudes Coaching and the Runner Dudes podcast. Yeah. And so thank you guys for tuning in again. So now, let's get to the guest. And we added, as we told him, Travis gets the very first episode in the Willow Window Studio. So we've added.
Quite impressive.
You've got a degree of difficulty that previous guests haven't had to overcome. But I think you're equal to the task.
You're going to set the bar high.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
There's only one bar right now, and that's me, so it's got to be high, right?
and did I get that right? You are the Cookeville High School cross country?
Yes, I am the Cookeville High School cross-country coach along with my wife, Jennifer Shope.
Yes.
And then, of course, Stout in running also,
Yes.
which is individual private coaching.
Perfect. And we were talking earlier before we started recording. There is a fun fact and a super weird connection that, again, not 100% sure how we even landed on it, but you're a Kappa Sigma.
That's correct.
And I'm a Kappa Sigma.
Correct.
One of the pieces of information that I had to memorize or I would get hazed, which I don't think is legal anymore, but
Right.
we did back then, was that I had to know that we got the baby bottle. They passed it from chapter to chapter, and as a new chapter got opened, you were Kappa Lambda.
Correct.
And you handed that chapter gave us the bottle, which was Kappa Mu. And then we were talking one day randomly. And you mentioned that you were a Kappa Sigma in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And then we landed on
Shippensburg University in Pennsylvania, spring 92. That's my class, Kappa Lambda.
Let's go.
I don't remember any
Yes.
of what you talked about, though, with the baby bottle and all that. It's been far too many years ago. But
Yes.
that is a very unorthodox, I guess, connection right there
Crazy.
between us. Yeah.
Super random. So tell us, where are you from? How did you get to Cookeville? Tell us about your family. And I know you mentioned your wife also helps with the coaching.
Yeah. So I was actually born in Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania, about 30 minutes from Penn State University.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
No, absolutely not. Central PA, it's divided evenly between Pittsburgh Steelers and the Philadelphia Eagles, and occasionally you'll have some Washington Redskins, which that's not the name of the team anymore, and the Baltimore Ravens. It's one of those things. But grew up there. I left there when I was, I think, 21 to go to the Air Force.
Okay.
I was stationed in Dover, Delaware.
Another military guy.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. From 94 to 98. And in 1996, I met my wife. It wasn't at Dover Air Force Base. It wasn't even in Delaware. At that time, we met in a chat room, a music chat room in 1996.
Chat rooms were that was the bomb, bro.
Well, we carried it on a floppy disk
Yes.
to put it in and then talk. We weren't we were involved with somebody and then we started talking and then
Floppy disk. You're talking about churning butter, bro.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
1997, we got married. We've been married over 27 years now.
Okay.
Now, these days, we can push something like that because you never know who you're going to meet on the internet.
Sure. Different times.
So whenever I got out in 98, we didn't even know where we were going. And she said, well, I mean, we knew she graduated at Tech, obviously. And she said, let's go back to Cookeville. And I've been there one time. I was like, okay, well, I didn't know where I was going to go.
Is she from here?
She is originally from Rockwood, East Tennessee.
Dude, my mom is from Rockwood. Okay, now we got to talk about these. I'm sure there's a million connections.
Yeah, good and bad, I'm sure.
My cousin Michaela, who was on the show,
Okay.
is a Rockwood Tiger.
Rockwood, oh boy. Yeah. Well, anyway, we moved to Cookeville. We've lived here since and raised a family.
Yeah.
And we are where we are right now.
Yeah.
27 years later.
Well, I love Cookeville. And when I was here 25 years ago, when I was at Tennessee Tech, I didn't appreciate Cookeville and what an amazing community is, and it's just it's been super supportive. We've had so much support for the Exceptional Bean Express Footwear. I mean, it's just it's a great place to be, and it's growing.
Yeah,
and I think,
absolutely.
And that was one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on here, was because I think the running community is starting to grow.
It is.
And there are more runners to be coached, and I think there's a market for that. So I want to get into that, your coaching. So I want to talk about your fitness journey. I know that you had gotten into running maybe to lose some lbs at one point. So tell us about that.
So I think I started running, it was around 2000 maybe. So it's been over 25 years. When I got out of the Air Force, I was well over 200 pounds. I needed to lose a few pounds. I didn't think much about running, but Jen started picking it up.
Yeah.
And she kind of inspired me, like, okay, well, I'll go ahead and I'll join you for this.
Sure.
As time went on, the weight started shedding, so I wanted to go a little bit step further, but just because you run doesn't necessarily mean you're going to lose weight, obviously. You have to make lifestyle choices.
This is
that,
correct.
Especially with your diet and other things.
Oh, boy, now we're talking about
Oh, boy.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes.
I had 2 oatmeal cream pies for lunch today, bro. So sorry.
You know better not to.
Hey, just FYI, Travis is currently my coach, and so I will occasionally just tell him how awful my diet
just
is.
to
and
fire me up.
He rolls his eyes.
That's
Anyway,
all he does.
Yes.
But
It's usually a hot topic of discussion when we talk about that too. Anyway,
Yes. Diet.
needless to say, the running increased. I went from 5Ks to up till marathons. And as I started going on, those pounds started shedding. I started cutting out some things. And before you know it, it just became a habit.
Yes.
And that's how my running journey started.
I've
I give credit to my wife.
Yeah, well, and it's really cool how all these stories begin. I know we've talked about mental health, physical health, and certainly spiritual health. Right. You shared a picture, I think, on your dialed in page about, and I was shocked.
Yes.
I was like, no way, dude.
Yes.
You know, because I've only ever known you as this guy, as the runner guy.
Yeah.
And so I think you guys just through, I don't know, just at a race or something. I know you guys have known each other much longer than I've known the two of you. How far back do y'all go?
maybe just a few years on.
Yeah,
Really?
I don't think it's been any more than
But
5.
y'all have ran some races together, right?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, that's kind of what got us. Honestly, I think really what pulled us more together was during, I think it was probably a little bit before COVID, we were running a lot.
Yeah,
It's like right when Steve first moved.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Around that time, our club started to grow.
Upper Cumberland
COVID
runners.
happened. Yeah, COVID happened, and then the group of runners honestly multiplied by a lot. And then it just everybody's interest and goals were kind of shared, and that's just kind of how everybody's kind of relationship kind of went from there. Obviously, he and I have we share the military in common, so that was kind of something that kind of
Easy to connect.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We share some of the same humor and some of the same views on things that other people don't see.
Yes, we could talk
Yeah.
Seinfeld references.
Yes,
And we may very well just turn this episode into a Seinfeld reference show.
Absolutely.
Did you run, or did your wife run in high school, grade school, middle school, ever, or just was it something you discovered as an adult?
I pick on her because she was a valedictorian in high school. She did
But
no
in
sports.
Rockwood.
Yeah, well, that's true. Oh my goodness, she's gonna see this or hear this too.
Listen, this is my mother and my family is all
boy.
from Rockwood, bro. That DNA courses through my veins as well.
Well-
and I'm Cumberland County High School.
So she didn't run or do anything athletic in high school. However, I played multiple sports. I ran track though, but I was a sprinter in high school.
Okay.
So
Totally unrelated thing.
totally.
It's not even the same. It's like
Totally
Usain
different.
Bolt has no idea what marathoners are doing. I've heard him say this.
Yeah.
Listen, I didn't care about necessarily running track. It was just it was the least supervised sport that there is. So you could just socialize. You can go here and there. There's not a coach always breathing down your neck.
Yes.
So any kids that listen to this, just any parents, you can scratch that part. But that's the truth, though.
Yes.
It's a little bit because there's so many kids. It's hard to keep track.
In most schools, I know at my high school, and Dusty, I don't know what it was like for you, but the track coach and the cross country coach was just some guy that wanted to make an extra
We didn't
$200 a week.
We didn't have track. nor
Yeah,
cross
right.
country
If you even
until
had it.
was several years after I graduated.
Yes.
It was always you.
Listen,
Listen, in Hog Eye Country, brother, you play football.
That's
you
right.
play basketball, and that's really about
Well, there's
it.
no track at in Livingston.
Yeah, there wasn't.
That's right. And we had a track at Cumberland County High School, but it was literally like blacktop. It was like, and it was falling apart. It had
I
potholes.
remember those years up there.
Yes.
And then finally they resurfaced
Yes.
it and they started hosting meets again up there.
And I look back, I'd have to go back to my annual to see if we even had a cross-country team. I don't know that we did or didn't. I don't remember one. And I make the joke that Coach Moore, the basketball coach, kind of prepared me for running because I was so terrible at basketball. I was constantly getting in trouble and having to run suicides.
Laps.
And so that was the one thing that I was able to keep up with the bigger boys. The boys my age were always taller than me, stronger than me, bigger than me. But when we started running laps or suicides, I could hang.
Yep.
And so I didn't mind getting in trouble and having to run. And so
Be an equalizer right there.
100%. And so that's kind of how planted that seed that I actually enjoyed running. How long have you been coaching Cookeville High School?
Actually, 1 year. Last year was our very first year.
Is that right?
Yes.
I thought you had been doing this for a while.
Well, we used to coach, my wife and I, we used to coach up in Overton County, the middle schools. We actually started that program up there, and it still exists today. And we took a break, and last year, Jennifer got a call down to the principal's office, and the question was, would you be interested in taking over cross country? And, well, I don't know. Travis has to do it with me. Okay. We have to pray about it. All right,
sure.
let us know in a week. So we prayed about it, and we said, all right, let's go. So we were kind of thrown in the fire with it.
Yeah.
But we had so many people that surrounded us that helped a lot. There were so many people in that program to help us, a lot of parents and
I
stuff.
imagine Blake has probably been a huge asset.
Yes, Blake.
Blake Shearer.
Yes, Blake. He is the head middle school coach. So
Yes.
he has done a good job in terms of getting those kids ready and moving up, so we don't have to skip a beat. So we're trying to close that gap between the two programs, and he's been a big help too. Also,
He's a good runner and just a good dude. You don't ever hear anybody that has anything negative to say about Blake, and he loves running. He loves the kids.
Yes.
And anytime I hear a parent or even a kid, when we had Levi on, he talked about how much he loved Blake.
Yeah.
So Lila Parkinson has mentioned how much she loves Blake. And so it's good to have somebody who kind of gets them prepared because running's hard.
It is.
And to see these kids that had this discipline to do this sport that is so difficult is really cool. And it takes a special kind of coach like Blake to get a kid interested in this.
Well,
One thing you notice about runners or anybody that's associated with cross country, track, whatever distance running, most of those folks they're geared a little bit different on how they focus their time, how they focus their energy. Most of them have fairly decent families, have fairly decent parents.
Like structured.
Correct.
Yes.
So then you don't get a lot of the entitled attitudes that you get in some other sports that I see now.
Sure.
Or you don't get some parents that are a little bit overbearing that can kind of.
and that's true.
Has that been your experience?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you can tell a big difference between one of the differences in middle school
That was a pretty hot take.
and
there,
high school.
Dusty.
Well,
That was a pretty spicy take. I like
Throwing
it,
it
bro.
out there.
I like
see,
it,
I
bro.
give prop to Blake a lot of times. I mean, that's one thing I didn't mention either is that I helped him out in the middle school before doing this. And that experience in itself, it's a lot different than the high school.
Sure.
You have kids that want to run, but then you also have kids that their parents forcing them to run one reason or another.
At the middle school
At the
level?
middle school
Yeah,
level.
of course.
Once you get to the high school level, though, these are kids that want to run.
We've weeded them out.
Yes, we've weeded them out. And like Dusty said, they traditionally are honor roll students.
Yeah.
They're, very good kids. They
Yes.
pay attention. They, for the most part, listen, and they want to succeed in running.
Yes.
So,
Well, because I know a couple of the runners at Tech, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're very self-motivated, self-starters.
yes.
Levi, Katie, Lila, these are people you don't have to hound. You know that you tell them what to do, they're going to go do it.
do
The
it.
problem might be they do too much, and we'll get into that. And
Yep.
so that's
Usually, too, they're good folks to be around.
no. Listen, that's an episode because runners are the running, again, spiritual, physical, mental health. There's a level of humility and gratitude. Running is humbling. I went out for a run today. I had a very hard workout yesterday. Went out for a run today. An 8-minute mile was all I could hang on to, and it was windy. It was hot. And so it's very humbling, and so you see that with all the runners. I don't think there's a sweeter kid than Levi Detweiler, and so he's easy to cheer for. So anyway,
he is.
Have you had a running coach? Have you had anybody that's coached you for your running, or have you just kind of done it on your own?
I have done that on my own. I would just go online. When I started getting serious, I would take on maybe some plans on my own. I'd tweak them as I needed and apply them to myself. The only coach that I really had for running was, again, high school track.
Right.
There really wasn't much supervision.
I feel like that coach was smoking a cig and like yelling.
Yeah, it was that scenario. It was that type of scenario.
Yes.
You know, I mean, he wasn't a teacher there. He was just very laid back. So I mean, it was a lot. I remember the fun more than the actual coaching. He was a great guy. It was just.
Yes.
I mean, I wasn't there really to improve my running as a sprinter at that time, so it didn't matter anyway.
And how long have you been doing Dialed In?
Actually, it's been almost a year, maybe only 10 months or so.
Okay. And you know what's funny is we both, I think, dived into this. I had people contact me because they knew I ran.
Yeah.
They knew I ran a lot, and they were like, hey, can you help me? And so this thing started out for me as just helping a friend.
Yeah.
And I had a coach, Louis DiLorenzo, and he helps or did help and with Stone Memorial High School's cross country and track. And so for me, having that experience helped. I learned so much from Louis. Shout out Louis. And when someone suggested I get a coach, I was like, I can Google a running plan just like anybody else, right?
Yeah.
And so you get to a point where you think you've got this all figured out. But when I had that coach, it takes all of the thinking out of it. I didn't have to think, am I doing the right thing? Louis had it. And the other thing is, runners are also, I think, the kind of people that like attaboys, and we don't want to disappoint.
Yes.
And so he would give me a plan, and I'm going to go hit these miles. I know he's checking.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's that accountability.
Yes, accountability.
And so
Absolutely.
that to me is what has been, and that's the reason I reached out to you, is because I was kind of floating in this weird space and not running as effectively as I know I can. Has that been how you got into this thing?
Yeah, there's people from time to time. Of course, I had the scholastic coaching there, which is a lot different, of course, than marathon coaching. I've kind of tried to gear towards more marathon and half marathon runners, so I was already around these people that run with running groups. So,
of course.
And there was a time, even before I started actual private coaching, that they would do the same plan I would, or I would say, let's tweak this, let's do that. And then, of course, if they got hurt or something, they would blame me too. But
that's another episode, bro.
Yes, that is.
And I'm sure they told you the very second that they felt discomfort.
Wow.
Right?
I always put.
Or do they wait until it's like the bone is sticking out of the skin?
It's a disclaimer. You're on your own. I can provide a plan, but you're on your own.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, other than that, there's been experienced runners usually that reach out. Not a whole lot, but I really enjoy that aspect of it. It's a challenge. When you, for example, that's like one of the diving in the deep end, because not even for myself would I have that amount of volume that you're taking on right now. So it became a little bit of a thinking game to see, what needs to be done here, what would be applicable to you and your history.
Have you had a coach? Have you been coached running?
I have never had a coach. We've always kind of tailored off a plan that we've had collectively as a group.
Yeah.
We've had, honestly, it's maybe 4 to 5, and we kind of always stick, and we just kind of I guess we just kind of adjust paces as we needed.
Yeah. For me, when we first started working together, there was a moment you sent something or made a comment, and because I am an experienced runner, I was like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. But then
I'm sure you're not the only one.
But you know what I think? I thought, well, wait a minute. No, I asked him for his help. I'm just going to do what he says. And for me, I was like, the way I sold it to myself was like, well, if this doesn't work, I've got someone to blame. Yeah. Just like if the podcast isn't good, we've got Jimmy.
Obviously.
Obviously, it's Jimmy's fault. So
somebody to blame.
Somebody to blame. But now we've worked together, and you've built this level of trust. I think me and you are headed in the same direction, like-minded goals. You know what I'm trying to accomplish. And so now it's like I look at my plan, I'm like, okay, Just go do that.
Yep.
There's nothing to it. And so, what do you say to this?
I say you're exactly right. See, I've said that before to my wife about, I talk to her about who's doing what with my clients on how they're doing. And a lot of times it's the truth. You begin to know that person better than themselves.
100%.
You know what they're capable of, even when they say, I can't do it. You know exactly what they're capable of and what stage of training. You know what they can handle. You know what's too much. You know what's too fast. You know what they're capable of.
Yes.
And it's just uncanny how you get to know that about a person.
When you coach somebody, or if you run with somebody every day, right? You learn about someone intimately.
Yes.
And you find out what their breaking points are.
Yes.
And when they're going to throw in the towel, or when they're going to keep pushing. Tell us about the Cookeville High School team. I want to know, how can the community support the team? When can we come out and see the team? Is there a website? What do we do?
Okay. So our website is chsxc.com, which is Cookeville High School Cross Country. So that's chsxc.com. They can visit there. There should be contact on how to contact myself or Jennifer. They can support starting in August. We will have a jamboree. That'll be probably one of the first in the state, usually is. That's out at the high school at the old airport. It's the Putnam County.
The cross country
Yes.
course. Nice.
Yes, where the soccer fields are.
Yeah.
Right now, if they reach out to us with, contact us on if they're interested in helping in some type of sponsorship in that, we can start working through that. We just have some other channels we got to go through. But as of now, we haven't thought much about a, specific thing that we have a need for, but we definitely would, if there is interest, please reach out to us, and we will definitely find some way that you can get involved or help us out, either with manpower or monetarily, whatever it is.
You've got some great runners. And so tell us about some of we've got Katie, who's going on scholarship. Go ahead.
So Katie Hetzel, she is going now to the University of Miami, Florida. Yes.
Very cool.
So now she's on her track season. She finished in the top 6 in the state, I believe it was.
Awesome.
She's a repeat she'd done it the year before also. We have a slew of seniors this year, so on the girls' side. So we're almost rebuilding this year on the girls' side.
Lila talked about that. I've
Yes.
told Lila, I said, now you're the leader.
Yes.
You got to step up.
Yes.
And that's a big step.
Yes, we definitely need those younger kids to step up. I think we only have like 2 returning. So we're doing a massive push to recruit in the middle schools starting March, and then also at the high school itself. Now the boys is the exact opposite. It flipped. We have some seniors that are very talented that are graduating, but we have a large crop of young kids very capable of putting that program to the next level in the next several years.
Yes. There's the Risher boys.
Risher boys will be moving up. You got Sully Thatcher. You got, Harrison Bennett. You got all kinds of younger kids coming up that's been with Blake for years. And, and then we have current ones. The leaders will be Deacon Daniels. You got Ethan Cook. I think they'll be the elder statesmen of the team, and there will be juniors. We don't have any seniors
So
for
there's
either team.
Some exciting times ahead.
Yes. And of course you mentioned Levi. He's, if you want somebody to coach, he's my example. He's my example.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if it's not just about running, it's everything you do outside of running. And you tell him you need to do this, and he'll do it.
You know who else? What was so striking to me? I've watched the different documentaries about Eliud Kipchoge and his coach. He's the greatest runner maybe that's ever lived. Yep. And his coach says I could ask him to do, and he doesn't. He's never questioned me. He just says it's done. And so that's no shock that he is as successful as he is.
Yes.
If you had to choose coaching high schoolers or coaching adults, what would you choose?
Oh boy! You see, now I'm going to make somebody mad one way or another. Right?
Let me ask you this: what's one of the best things that you see, attributes that you have out of your younger runners, and what's the worst you see out of your adult runners?
So the best out of the kids and then the worst out of the adults.
Or best and worst out of both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Well,
that's fair.
Okay. So for the kids, they're sometimes they're hard to motivate.
Sure.
Now, an adult, and let's just be frank, they're paying you.
Right.
So they have some type of motivation there to begin
Trying
with.
to get something out of this.
Yes. And, I can build that relationship with my adult runners, but I build I think a closer relationship with our kids just because, their minds are growing, their bodies are growing. You're trying to shepherd them just as little as you can, just as little involvement as you have through life, whatever is going on. They might have problems going on that you don't know about, and you try to be more sensitive. Adults are more
On their own.
They're more mature. So, but I would say sometimes the adults, on the other hand, sometimes they'll listen, sometimes they won't, just like kids. But at the same time, they handle things a little bit better. If you miss something or you get injured, the adults will, they don't like it. They can deal with it though. Mm-hmm. Kids, it's almost the end of the world.
Yes.
If they get injured, it's, oh my goodness, what's going to happen now?
They may think they're done.
Yeah.
We're done
So
here.
there's a little bit of both, good and bad, with coaching both.
That's been my experience with adults is that, they do tend to do what you ask, for the most part. And so I have found that more women runners are quicker to ask for help and look for coaching. There have been, I've got more men runners now than I've had since I started. Yeah. And so I feel like men are like, I'll figure it out. Yeah. And they'll run through several, I don't need your help, and so, whereas the women are like, I'm trying to get better at this. I would like to have a coach. And so the women are, I've got one in particular, Caitlin. She's like a machine. She's not going to miss a workout. She's not going to miss any miles. And so that's been one thing that I have seen. Getting into the last thing, this is going to be good. Our next episode, and so you are currently not only coaching me, but you're also coaching one of our very favorite local runners, Jeffrey Lynch.
Yes.
So I will tell you this, dude. Jeff asked me, he had a coach that will remain nameless, and they had a relationship that had soured for years. Mm-hmm. And so he kept trying to keep this relationship going, and finally he broke ties. And he wanted to know, he's like, hey, would I coach him? I said, bro, you have no problem telling me that you're not going to run. I said, you need somebody that can hold you accountable. Yes. I said, if you would listen to me, then you'd have been running these miles. I said, I've yelled at you all I can.
Yes.
And I will say, dude, we've talked about this. In the last 8 weeks, he's been a different dude. Yeah. So shout out Jeff Lynch, but tell me about this dude.
Oh, he's came to me, just like you said, the background of the story. He came to me and he wanted to, his obvious first goal is that he said it was to qualify for Boston. Boston qualifier, which tends to be the big one on every marathon runner's goal list.
Yes.
He came to me and he gave me the background. I kind of knew some of the background of what he's done. I know that he ran a really good race in Carmel that one year, I think a 3:13.
That's right.
And I know that he's also had a couple setbacks in terms of where he was there, like back in the 3:30s. And so he gave me his goal time, and I was like, well, Jeff, are we sure we want to be shooting for that? And
pretty stout.
But he was adamant on that. Yes. He said, yes, I need to go for this 3:10. We're going to do it. I said, all right, well, I'm in. Let's do it. And I don't know, we're about halfway through, or we're getting close to that time. 9. And, he's hitting the paces. He's doing what he's supposed to do.
Yes. Proud of him.
And like any coach, I get on him like I get on you at times about some things.
That's what
you have to.
That's right. He has also said he appreciates it. He's embraced it, and he's gonna do what you say instead of try to tell you how you're wrong.
Yes.
And so 1 out of 10, 1 being bonk at mile 12, 10 being tears are gonna flow, and Jeff Lynch is gonna Boston qualify. What do you think, Carmel? How's it going to go?
A 10.
Yes.
What kind of coach would say less than a 10?
Bro, I set you up, bro. I set you up.
Yeah, well.
I'm going to tell you, I think we're getting ready to see a really cool day. I think we catch a good weather. I think he's going to have a great day. And so, Travis, thank you. And so you got dialed in. Tell us how we can get
you can reach me at dialedinrunning.com or just search for it in Facebook, Dialed In Running. I'm not a big I'm on social media with Facebook and that. Right now, I try to keep my clientele list pretty low. So I've got about 4 or 5 runners right now. That's about all I can handle at a time. But yeah, definitely reach out to me. My niche is kind of with, again, half marathon and full. I can do all ages, all abilities, but yes. I really like that challenge of getting someone to their next level, especially with half marathons.
I've got a QR code and a poster up.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool.
And you can come by and zap it.
Yeah.
Go straight to it.
Yeah.
And I will say, just personally, it's been a great experience, and so I'm excited about where I'm headed.
Thanks.
I think I'm headed for my fastest times. I
appreciate that, and I know you can.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of coach would say you couldn't do it? Come on.
That's right.
Come on.
And so, thank you.
How much emphasis do you put on his nutrition?
Oh,
mind your listen, bro. Mind your business.
He's got one. He's like a unicorn. He's got this metabolism that just once he's putting on the volume, it's just like an incinerator. So usually he can put whatever he wants in, and
I do.
Yeah, and it does.
The Taco Bell number 7.
Yeah.
Listen, CG went to. Listen, I know we're running long on time, but CG went to Whitwell Sunday. You know what I ate for lunch? Crystals. You know what I ate for dinner? Taco Bell.
Oh. There's one of your drive-through stories.
And I ran a 22 miler on Saturday. And so, listen, baby, let's go.
See, you're doing that while I'm on camera and on. You
can't
tell me now.
That's right. Listen,
Completely transparent.
Willow Window Studios, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So this has been great. Express Footwear,
Yes, sir.
Runner Dudes Running, Runner Dudes Podcast, dialed in.
Man.
Thank you so much. Sight and Sound.
Let's do it.
Jimmy.
Yep.
He's freaking out. We're running long over here.
I'm thinking,
He's like, wrap it up.
How much more room do I have on my heart?
Yeah.
I keep looking at that little red line.
The sweat's glistening on his forehead.
I think we all.
The Runner Dudes podcast is sponsored by Express Footwear and Runner Dude Coaching and Consulting. Produced by Jimmy Thorpe at sightandsoundcreative.com.